Welcome to our channel. Today we delve into a heart-wrenching true crime tale that touches on love, tragedy, and unspeakable horror. We're discussing the poignant case of Yannick and Kiana Piaczek, a story that has profoundly affected our team, leaving us all in tears over the sheer weight of sadness it carries. To the family of this beautiful couple, we extend our deepest condolences. Born on February 16, 1982, Kiana Faye Jenkins was the cherished only child of Roy and Glenna Faye Jenkins. Raised in the vibrant surroundings of Southern California's Ontario area, Kiana was a beacon of ambition and dedication. She pursued her higher education at San Diego State University, earning a master's degree in public health by 2005. Kiana was passionate about her role as a health education assistant in the county's Black Infant Care Program, dreaming of one day becoming a doctor. Yannick Paul Piaczek, affectionately known as Jan to his friends, entered the world on March 13, 1984, in Poland. Named after Pope John Paul II by his mother, Henrico Varga, Jan's early life was marked by a significant move when his family immigrated to the United States. Settling in Brooklyn's Bensonhurst area, the tragic events of September 11th deeply influenced Jan, compelling him to join the Marines in 2003. His mother fondly recalls his words, "Mom, we live in this country. We have to be patriotic. We have to give back." Serving as a helicopter mechanic in Iraq, Jan reached the rank of sergeant, earning the nicknames Sergeant P or just P from his peers. In 2005, before Jan's deployment to Iraq, fate brought him together with Kiana at a party for Marines heading overseas. A mutual friend from San Diego State introduced them. Despite her initial hesitance to date a Marine, Jan's charm quickly won Kiana over. To those who knew them, Jan and Kiana were the epitome of true love, the kind everyone dreams of finding. Overcoming any differences, including skin color, they shared dreams of a bright future filled with happiness and children. Their love culminated in a joyful union on August 8, 2008, a date carefully chosen by Kiana so Jan would always remember their anniversary. However, their shared joy was devastatingly short-lived, as just 2 months into their marriage, a chilling tragedy would unfold. On October 15, 2008, alarm bells rang when both Kiana and Jan unexpectedly missed work. Concerned, their colleagues contacted the police for a wellness check. Upon arrival, the responding officer was met with an ominous scene, the front door suspiciously wide open. Sensing the gravity of the situation, he immediately called for backup. As law enforcement entered the home, a scene of chaos greeted them. A purse and its contents were scattered near the front door, and a pungent mix of gasoline and natural gas filled the air. The living room held the most harrowing sight, the bound and gagged bodies of Kiana and Jan laid out on the floor, a silent testament to the horror they faced. Nearby, a red candle and a vibrator were ominously placed near Kiana, adding a disturbing layer to the already gruesome scene. This tragic event marks the beginning of a complex investigation into a case that shook the community to its core, reflecting the purest form of evil one could imagine. Stay tuned as we continue to uncover the details of this tragic case, seeking justice for Yannick and Kiana Piaczek. In the quiet comfort of their home, a place that should have been their sanctuary, Jan and Kiana Piaczek experienced unimaginable terror. The scene discovered by the police was harrowing. Jan had endured a brutal beating, while Kiana had been viciously sexually assaulted. Both had been tortured before their lives were cruelly ended by gunshots. The invaders had not only sought to destroy lives, but also to erase the serenity of the home, attempting to set multiple small fires throughout, which fortunately failed to ignite. As officers navigated through the chaos, they found evidence of at least 3 different intruders, suggested by distinct sets of shoe prints left in the gasoline meant to fuel the fires. Among these prints were patterns from a Nike Air Force One sneaker and a Nike Cortez, common yet distinct enough to hint at the assailants' identities. The scene was further marred by hateful racial slurs, spray-painted across the walls and mirrors, a chilling testament to the possible motives behind this heinous act. The police initiated a thorough investigation, interviewing friends, family, and colleagues in search of anyone who might bear a grudge against the couple. Jan was known as a hard charger at work, a strict and forthright leader who demanded the best from his team and was not shy about calling out subpar performance. Furthermore, Jan's recent receipt of a substantial $30,000 bonus was common knowledge, adding another layer of motive for this brutal crime. Initially, the racially charged graffiti led investigators to consider the possibility of a hate crime. However, the plot thickened with the discovery of surveillance footage from an ATM where the killers had used Kiana's card shortly after the murders. The footage, though grainy, showed a suspect adorned in a blue bandana and gloves, marked with distinctive writing. Given the military background of Jan and the proximity of the crime scene to a military base, the Naval Criminal Investigative Services, NCIS, were brought in to assist the Riverside investigators. Their expertise was immediately apparent when they noted that, despite numerous valuable items being stolen, Jan's military duffel bag was conspicuously left untouched, an item unlikely to be overlooked by fellow military personnel, suggesting an inside job. The local authorities were already pondering a military connection, given the location of Kiana's ATM transactions near Camp Pendleton Marine Corps Base. Their suspicions deepened as they delved further into Jan and Kiana's social circles, where the name of a 20-year-old Lance Corporal Tyrone Miller, who served under Jan, kept emerging. Miller was known to have a strained relationship with Jan, and intriguingly, he had been involved in a suspicious incident, a reported drive-by shooting at a movie theater just days after the murders, and shortly before the couple's funeral. When Miller was brought in for questioning, the case began to unravel. Initially, he denied any involvement, dismissing his conflicts with Jan as minor work-related disagreements. He claimed to have been at home on the night of the murders. However, once detectives hinted at obtaining his cell phone records, Miller's story faltered. He admitted to possibly driving through the couple's neighborhood with friends around the time of the murders. When asked about his attire during such outings, he unwittingly revealed a preference for blue bandanas and mentioned owning several pairs of shoes, including Air Force Ones. This slip of information provided the police with enough probable cause to search Miller's residence. What they would find there would not only shock them, but would also steer the direction of this investigation towards a chilling conclusion. As this intricate tale of love, betrayal, and brutality continues to unfold, stay with us as we explore deeper into the investigation, piecing together how a night meant for quietude turned into a nightmare, and how the lines between military brotherhood and personal vendettas blurred tragically for Jan and Kiana Piaczek. In the dark hours of an early morning, the grim scenario unfolded with police converging on Lance Corporal Tyrone Miller's home, armed with a search warrant. Faced with a locked door and no response, they were forced to breach the entrance. What they encountered inside was a chilling tableau of desperation. Miller's wife was found in one part of the house, while Miller himself was discovered in a deeply disturbing state, using his toddler daughter as a human shield against the approaching officers. This act of desperation was something the police had never witnessed before, not from a Marine nor a civilian. Amidst the tense standoff, Miller finally complied with the police commands, setting down his child, allowing the officers to conduct their search. Almost immediately, they uncovered damning evidence. On the very table of Miller's home lay Jan's ATM card, an unequivocal link to the crime. The search continued to yield more incriminating items: the couple's stolen jewelry, spent shell casings, and shockingly, Jan's cherished dress blue uniform hanging in Miller's closet. The discovery didn't end there. Several handguns, including the suspected murder weapon, were found alongside a bag of blue bandanas and the gloves identified from the ATM surveillance footage. The residence was also a trove of other stolen items and IDs, suggesting a history of criminal activity beyond the Piaczek case. Despite the overwhelming evidence amassed from his home, Miller maintained his innocence during the interrogation. However, as the questioning intensified, cracks began to appear in his facade. About an hour in, he began to shift his story, minimizing his role and insisting that the intent had only been robbery. As he broke down further, Miller implicated others. 18-year-old Lance Corporal Emery's John, and 20-year-old Private Kevin Cox, both of whom worked under Yan and in the same squadron. Additionally, a more sinister figure emerged from his narrative, a man they only knew as Psycho, later identified as 21-year-old Lance Corporal Keyshawn Sykes. As all four suspects were brought in for questioning, a complex web of blame and counterblame emerged. Each admitted to their presence at the scene, but none would accept responsibility for the shootings or the rape, pointing fingers at each other. However, from their statements, confessions to friends, and evidence gathered at their residences, a coherent picture of that tragic night began to form. In the early hours of October 15th, the group, masked with blue bandanas and gloved hands, had initially attempted to enter the Piaczek home stealthily. Failing to gain entry quietly, they decided to exploit Yan's acquaintance with Cox. Cox knocked, and when Yan, cautious but recognizing the face, opened the door, the night's terror was unleashed. Words were exchanged, and suddenly all four men burst in. Yan and Kiana were quickly overpowered, bound, and gagged. As the intruders ransacked the house, their frustration grew with the lack of expected valuables. Their response was barbaric. They tortured the couple for the ATM pin before subjecting Kiana to hours of brutal assault in front of Yan, a horrifying ordeal that culminated in the couple's execution. John, under Miller's command, was the one who tragically ended their lives. In a final act of deceit, the group scrawled racial slurs across the home and attempted to set it ablaze, hoping to mislead investigators and destroy any lingering evidence. Their efforts to ignite the fire failed, leaving behind the clues that would eventually lead to their capture. This gruesome story not only unveils the depths of cruelty, but also the bravery and persistence of law enforcement in pursuing justice for Yan and Kiana Piaczek. As we delve deeper into the investigation and the subsequent trial, the narrative serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind familiar faces and the light of justice that tirelessly works to reveal it. The tragic murder of Yan and Kiana Piaczek revealed not only the brutality, but also the premeditated malice behind their deaths. The motivations of the four Marines, led by Tyrone Miller, were twofold: a desire for financial gain and a purported act of revenge against Yan, whom they accused of sabotaging Miller's chance at a promotion, a claim for which there was no corroborating evidence. Miller, the architect of this heinous plan, was unmasked as a leader of a covert life of crime, orchestrating regular home invasions and burglaries alongside his comrades. Despite the initial belief that the murders were driven by financial incentives, deeper sentiments and facts suggested an undercurrent of racial motivation. This belief was fortified by the mixed ethnic backgrounds of the couple, sparking discussions about whether the crime was incited by the racial dynamics within their relationship. Public opinion, alongside insights from top investigators and the victim's circle, leaned heavily towards the notion of a hate crime, contradicting the official stance. Adding to the premeditation, Emery's John had ominously hinted at the forthcoming crime on his MySpace page with a post that read, "Chilling, waiting for her to kill him." This digital footprint would later serve as a pivotal piece of evidence, underscoring the calculated nature of their actions. Special Agent Matt Timmons emphasized the chilling foresight involved, stating, "Everything about this crime was premeditated. You can't expect to rob somebody you know and then not be turned in." Yan and Kiana were united not just in life but in death. Their families, devastated yet resolute in honoring their bond, decided on a joint burial. On October 24th, a full military funeral was held, despite the dishonorable actions of their murderers, who were once fellow servicemen. The ceremony included a poignant 21-gun salute, with both Yan and Kiana laid to rest together at Riverside National Cemetery, sealing their commitment to eternity together. PHX's mother poignantly reflected on her son's service, having never imagined that after surviving the perils of Iraq, he would meet such a tragic fate at home. The wheels of justice began to turn slowly, and it wasn't until March 2013, 5 years after the murders, that Tyrone Miller, Emery's John, and Kevin Cox faced trial. By then, all had been dishonorably discharged from the Marines. The trial spotlighted not just the heinous act, but also the misuse of military training in committing the crime. Prosecutor Daniel De Leon pointed out to the jury the significant advantage their training provided them in executing such a precise and deadly plan. During the trial, chilling accolades were revealed among the perpetrators. Cox commended John, saying, "Good job, E. You earned your stripes tonight." To which John hauntingly replied, "Yeah, I did, man. Yeah, I did." These exchanges highlighted the twisted pride they took in their actions, a factor that no doubt played a role in the jury's deliberations, which lasted less than 3 days after a grueling 4-month trial. The trials concluded with all 4 men being convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, with additional special allegations for committing these murders during a robbery. The second trial, involving Keyshawn Sykes, was delayed to the following year due to limited court space, but it ultimately reinforced the collective culpability of the group. This tragic case serves as a stark reminder of the profound impact of crime, not only on the victims but also on the community and the nation as a whole. It challenges us to reflect on the values of justice and the deep scars left by acts of such senseless violence, even among those trained to protect and serve. As we await the final chapter of this legal battle, the memory of Jan and Kiana and the justice sought for them underscores the ongoing struggle against violence and hate. In the somber aftermath of the trial for the horrific murder of Jan and Kiana Piacek, the convictions brought some semblance of closure, though the scars left by the crime would endure far beyond the courtroom. Emory's John was identified as the gunman and convicted accordingly. Tyrone Miller, the orchestrator of the crime, faced convictions for sexual assault among other charges. Keyshawn Sykes was also convicted of sexual assault and, additionally, for sexual penetration with a foreign object. The sentences handed down were severe. Miller, John, and Sykes received the death penalty, while Kevin Cox was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Cox began serving his sentence at Chuckawalla Valley State Prison, a medium-security facility notoriously overburdened. Originally designed to house just over 1,700 inmates, it was accommodating more than 3,200 at the time Cox was incarcerated, operating at roughly 125% capacity as of 2022. This overcrowding highlights ongoing issues within the prison system, reflecting a broader crisis of capacity and resource allocation that plagues many such institutions across the country. Meanwhile, Miller, John, and Sykes were sent to San Quentin State Prison, the site of California's only death row for male inmates and the largest such row in the United States. San Quentin, established in 1852, is California's oldest prison and has a complex structure designed to manage a range of security needs. Death row there is divided into 3 main sections: the North segregation for the less troublesome inmates, the decrepit East block for the majority, and the adjustment center for the most dangerous. Notably, the prison's conditions have been a point of contention, with the East Block often described as a crumbly, leaky maze built in 1927. San Quentin also houses a gas chamber, though since 1996, executions have been carried out by lethal injection. However, a significant shift occurred in 2019 when California Governor Gavin Newsom ordered a moratorium on the death penalty. As long as this moratorium remains in effect, those on death row, including the 3 men responsible for the deaths of Jan and Kiana, are unlikely to face execution, remaining instead in the liminal space of awaited outcomes. The public reaction to the case was visceral and widespread, with particular indignation directed at the fact that the perpetrators were Marines. Online forums and social media were ablaze with comments condemning the men, not only for the brutality of their crimes, but for the betrayal of their comradeship and the values supposed to be upheld by military personnel. The general consensus was that their actions stripped them of the right to be called Marines or even ex-Marines, with many expressing that even the severe sentences seemed insufficient for the gravity of their offenses. As we reflect on this case, it stirs a deep discussion about justice, morality, and the potential for darkness within those trained to protect. The pain inflicted by Miller, John, Sykes, and Cox on Jan and Kiana, and by extension on their families and community, raises poignant questions about trust, the impact of trauma, and the capacity for evil within individuals seen as protectors. We invite you to share your thoughts on this case. Were you as profoundly impacted by the notion of trained soldiers turning their skills against one of their own and his innocent spouse? What does justice look like in such a grim scenario? Your opinions are valuable as we continue to explore these complex themes. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment to stay updated with more content like this. Each story we share aims to evoke understanding and foster a space for community reflection on the often harsh realities of our world